All right, so in the meantime, an interesting story. There's growing controversy over a plan to make people earn their welfare benefits. Ohio's governor is proposing that able-bodied adults, if they want food stamps, should have to do some kind of work in return for them. At least 20 hours a week of working or training for a job or volunteering. Chris Plante, radio talk show host of The Chris Plante Show, and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, also radio talk show host of LeslieMarshallShow.com. Hi, guys. Good to have you here.
Hi there.
Hey, good morning.
All right, so here's an interesting concept. Leslie, let me start with you. What do you think?
Well, you know, when I first read about this, I'm not totally against this. Chris, don't faint. Years ago, there was a guy called Governor Tommy Thompson and another one called Bill Clinton, former president, who, one Democrat, one Republican, had devised a welfare to workfare program, which I'm very much in favor of. Very different than this, though. We had a thriving economy and we had jobs to go to. Two of the problems that I have with this are, one, we don't have enough jobs for the people to go to with all this training in the state of Ohio, even though they're improving their economy. And secondly, who determines the criteria? You can be disabled, but not physically disabled, and that disability can prevent you from working or from actually benefiting from some of these programs.
That raises an interesting element to all of this, too. Chris, what do you think?
Well, look, I mean, as Leslie pointed out, Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich worked together on the welfare to work program. It worked very well. It is too bad we're living through Obama's economy with the extremely high and persistent unemployment rates. That's a problem. Now, in John Kasich's state, in Ohio, a Republican, he's implementing policies that are lowering the unemployment rate in Ohio, difficult as that is, for a whole range of reasons. But look, this is obviously a good idea. I'm glad to hear that Leslie is essentially with it, and you know, some tinkering around the fringes perhaps. But the reality is that we live in a world now where Democrats, the Democrat Party, has put themselves in the unfortunate position where they are now incentivized as a political party to keep as many people on the public dole as possible. Because a person staying at home and on the dole is a Democrat voter. A person with a job who's putting food on the table and has some, you know, sense of pride and is self-sufficient is more likely a Republican voter. So if you look at the incentives that the two parties have for creating, you know, wealth and jobs and for creating government dependency, you start to get to the root of the issue here.
I mean, I can just imagine, you know, what kind of backlash there would probably be, Leslie, if someone in Governor Kasich's shoes, you know, would like to actually try to implement this. And the comparison was made earlier to, you know, the issue of college. You know, if you've given money to work at college, then you've got, you know, a job that you're working also in the computer lab or the cafeteria or whatever to pay it off. And nobody thinks that model is an inappropriate model or an unfair or mean model. So, you know, what's wrong with it?
Well, because this isn't college, and being somebody that came from a poor family, and I had Pell Grant student loans and worked 5 jobs to get through both my undergrad and graduate studies at the same time. I guess I'm a bit of a multitasker. Chris, this is not about votes, please. And if it is, then what is the governor doing? Thinking if you're not on food stamps, you'll vote Republican? I think what this comes down to is that the governor, as many Republican governors, want to be less reliant on Uncle Sam and the federal government, so they're not doing doublespeak. And they really want to push these people off the rolls. The problem is the timing. This is not the time. When, even though the economy is improving and unemployment has decreased in Ohio, it does not correlate the number of jobs that are being
but it's not just jobs. I mean, the way it's
to the number
detailed,
of people that are on food stamps.
Training, and it's also volunteer work. It's just that issue of, you know, sort of doing something in return. And I commend you, Leslie, for working 5 jobs while you were receiving those grants. That's precisely what we're talking about here, isn't it?
Yeah, well, so should I say I had 7 jobs?
There were 5 jobs to work.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. There were, but they were all, you know, puny little, you know, more or less minimum wage jobs. Most of us did the same thing. I haven't counted up the number of jobs I worked while I was in college, but probably more than 5. So take that. Listen, it's not about forcing. It's not about forcing people off the rolls. It's about getting people back into the workforce. It's about getting people, you know, back to a place where they've got dignity and a job, and they're putting food on the table and not, you know, sitting around. People are exempted all over the place. If you're not physically able, if you're disabled, if you have children, I'm sure there are other exemptions available. It's a very reasonable, honest, decent approach to getting people back to work. And you know, as Martha said, you can volunteer, you can go through job training. It's about getting people back to work. Maybe it's something President Obama should think of. Maybe it's something Democrats in other states should be thinking of. Instead of, you know, honestly, and Leslie, you know this is true. It's an unfortunate situation the Democrats have created for themselves, where they have actually incentivized creating, you know, a greater number of people. One of the areas of success for President Obama, a greater number of people that are dependent on the public dole. Those are Democrat voters.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Chris. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you.